Good afternoon, dear Sangha. So a few announcements. Let's see. Please silence your cell phones and mute your microphones. The next retreat we have coming up is Finding Freedom in Compassionate Presence with Lisa Ernst from June 23rd to June 27th. For more information and to register, please visit the retreat page on our website. Venerable Paiwadi is offering a new book study. We're not sure if that's going to start this Thursday or next Thursday, but keep an eye on your email and we'll go from there. The link will be in your email to join us. The Novena prayers are occurring monthly every third Thursday. The next one is June 3rd. The time is to be announced. We're tweaking our schedule, so stay tuned for that also. We invite you to join us on our YouTube page for all of our offerings. And please send your confidential prayer requests for yourself, your loved ones, including pets, who are sick, suffering, misfortune, or departed, to prayer, Prayer, at heartwoodrefuge.org. Fully vaccinated Sangha members are now invited to Heartwood for Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday Dharma. And please like, follow, and share Heartwood and Thrifty Treasures on all social media to help spread the Dharma and to further Heartwood's mission. Thank you so much for joining us today, and Venerable will be here shortly. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'd like to open with the Dharma contemplation today. I don't know what to do. This is supposed to be Dharma contemplation, right? I don't know what happened to this. Today, continuing from Tuesday, I'm feeling extremely pensive.
Okay, I literally never touched this.
Sometimes we're trying to figure out what is the appropriate response. That puts us in our thinking mind. But the Buddha says that there is another way to know what time it is, to know what intersection we're at, to understand what is should be done and what is the most beneficial. And it's not so much by thinking what we should do, but by, I don't want to use the word relax because it has a certain connotation for us, but I'll use another teacher's word, by melting into the situation. And it's a certain type of yielding that one ascribes to that allows the clarity to come. Clarity is approachable to the extent of our surrender to the moment. But when we're fighting a moment, there can be little clarity. So the Buddha says, with all one's attachments cut, with one's heart's pining subdued, calm and serene and happy is one, for one has obtained peace of mind. It's found in the Samyutta Nikaya 1-242. I'd like to read it again. With all one's attachments cut, with the heart's pining subdued, calm and serene and happy is one, for one has attained peace of mind. And I want to know what that means to you today. What the Buddha came to the conclusion of was that more than us being an individual entity frozen in time, we are more of an experience, how can I say it? Like an ever-changing stream of experience. And clinging could be akin to water being frozen like an ice cube. So something, some situation gets frozen in our mind, in our thinking, and we constantly look at it, hold it up, turn it around, look underneath, having formed an opinion about that moment or about that person, you know, and it's this act of freeze framing that creates our suffering. If you could think of clinging in that way, perhaps that would be more useful. Then the question wouldn't come up, what's wrong with loving somebody? What's wrong with, caring about your family? What's wrong? That's the mind trying to get away from where it really needs to look. But if one would just think of water free flowing, becoming, or a stream becoming frozen, it's something like that. And so he's constantly sharing with us ideas, techniques, saying, look over there, saying, look at it this way. You don't have to agree with it, but just be willing to look at it and consider it this way. You might see something there that you didn't see before, and you might understand something in a way that it could free you from some of the pain that you're suffering. And so we get enamored with technique, like this is the technique for this. We even call Vipassana a technique. But it's not really a technique, it's a state of mind. We use some techniques, and he gave many, not one, but he gave many different techniques that will allow insight to rise. But if we get hardcore attached to the methods, we've done nothing more than freeze the stream into ice. And the desired benefit will be unattainable. Because the techniques lead somewhere. So we have to look at the landscape around us to see, where are we in motion? Are we moving? And what is the effect or the result of what we're doing, how we're doing it, when we're doing it, why we're doing it? For whom even we are doing it. Rumi said, he who wishes to ensure the good of others has already assured his own. Does it ever cross your mind to forget about yourself and to concentrate on others? Do you notice that when you do that, when you are engaged with reducing the suffering of others, you forget that you're suffering. And then when that activity is over, like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm suffering myself. But when we're in the act, in the conduct, when there is the activity, the engagement, we actually forget about our suffering. Then when we start talking about our friends, they start reminding us, you got to take care of yourself. You have to do what's best for you. I was going to say, I'm not sure the Buddha said that, but, in a way, he did. Remember the story of the trapeze artist, master? And he was training his apprentice, and, on the high wire. He didn't say you need to come down and become a monk and meditate either. So on this trapeze, and the master says to the apprentice, now, when we get up there, pay attention, you take care of me, and I'll take care of you. And the apprentice said, no, when we get up there, you take care of you, and I'll take care of me. And the disciples asked the Buddha about this. He said, who was right? The master or the apprentice? He said, the apprentice was right. You take care of you, and I'll take care of me. Because there was a particular lesson in that about our responsibility. He said, because when I take care of myself properly, then it benefits you. When I don't take care of myself properly, it causes suffering for myself, causes suffering for others. But if we were to freeze that free-flowing information into a cube of ice, and that becomes our go-to point or our go-to reference for how we handle our life, then we say we're going to miss something. So he says, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little and there a little, we come to know things. We see in part, we know in part, but we can come full measure and get the whole picture, but not at one time. And so it's very important to develop the capacity to see and work with a lesson that's right in front of you, the one that's right in front of you. Don't go off over there trying to learn somebody else's lesson or try to see what they're doing and why they're doing. What's causing your suffering? Right there is where you should focus. What's causing your suffering? What is the antidote to that? If it's listening and accepting wise counsel, and you can do that, do that. If like right now, I'm not trying to hear it because, then it's no point in wasting somebody's time, and then not interested in even trying or putting into practice the advice that one's been given. Instead, creating a platform for your earbuds. Some students think that, I don't know, I don't think I'm rude or think I'm hard or whatever, because I'm not that interested in entertaining the earbuds. It's not that I don't understand the earbuds that arise. But I mean, you can have your earbuds, okay, honestly, You can have your yeah buts without taking up my time. But if you ask what the Buddha said about something, and I tell you that the only thing to do after that is to ponder it. Don't dismiss it offhand like it wasn't worth anything. And come up with your yeah, what buts that are worth everything. It's gonna make it difficult for you to receive any wisdom that may be there that could show you a way out. So we have to learn a different way of inquiry. It's not that we don't inquire. It's not that we don't contemplate. But there's a time to listen, a time to assess what it means, or come to an understanding of what it means, whether you agree with it or not. Then a time to put it into practice, to see if there's anything in it for you that you could benefit from. And then you come to another conclusion of whether there's something there, but I don't feel that it applies to this moment. I mean, I'm saying do the due diligence to investigate, to activate it in you and in your life. That's how our joy comes, because we find that we're pleasantly surprised. Sometimes the first thing doesn't work. We have to try the second and the third. That's why I gave, quote, 84,000 teachings or Dharma gates, because, the same 5 not going to work for every person. Not even in meditation. He gave, in the Visuddhimagga, 40 different meditation subjects or objects are explained in detail. 40. And any one person may use one of those in response to a given hindrance. For instance, he said one with a lot of anxiety should do anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing. He said one with ill will and anger should do metta. And for each meditation object or subject he gave, it was a prescription. No, sorry, if you have an earache, then don't take the medicine for the pain in the foot. Search out the proper medicine. And then even when you find the medicine, you can't like just grab a bottle and start popping pills. You have to take the right dosage. Right now, the doctor has me on some medication. I said, I think I need to stop this, because I was having vertigo and dizziness, and he gave me a medication for that, and it says right on the bottle, may cause dizziness. And so now I'm double dizzy. And then I looked at another medication that they gave me last week, and it may cause dizziness. Now I got triple dizziness going on. So what I decided to do was I will take it for 2 weeks and see if it doesn't act on or balance if the first dizziness, and if the dizziness that I'm experiencing is the same as the first one, because I'm taking 2 medications that cause dizziness. It's the same kind of dizziness. And more than that, is it healing what I was given the medicine for? And which one is the most important to me? It's all of these things that we have to consider. So we can't just run hog wild on our feelings, how we feel. We have to do some investigation. I looked up everything about them, that's for sure. Because some he's given me, I said, this right here, this is worse than the affliction. I just not taking that. And I didn't. And I might have some repercussions from not taking it. But it was, there was a lot of consideration that went into the remedy. So how much consideration are you giving to the remedy for what ails you? How patient are you willing to be? How compliant? I can't tell you how compliant. I can just tell you what compliance looks like. And you decide the degree. This is not blind faith, but it is very, very action oriented. Otherwise, we'll just be tune-inners. You know what tune-inners are, right? People just tune in to Dharma on Tuesday, Thursday, or something. And when that hour's over, they just go back to their life as they already see it. No changes, no transformation, no resultant joy. There was a time I was sad all the time. And I knew that I was a very compassionate person. Sacrifice has never been a dirty word to me. There is something that I find in it that is life-giving, that connects me in a way, like without words. We have a lot of words in Buddhism. Yeah. It's a lot of analysis. Sometimes I think too much because we get caught up in a kind of intellectualism that makes us think we're actually walking something out because we're thinking about it. So sometimes less is more. And so I didn't worry too much because being compassionate came naturally out almost to me. That was just the result of a good karmic mind stream in that regard. There had some other things that were like really dastardly, not had and still have things that I'm working on. But that one I felt pretty confident that I was like in the flow. But what I noticed was that I was sad all the time, no happiness, no sense of joy. And when I discovered the Dharma, it taught me something. It taught me not how to be compassionate because I was already compassionate, but it showed me what was missing in the way that I understood compassion. And my mourning and sorrow for the suffering of the world turned to joy. So there's a training of arousing joy within oneself. When one thinks of the qualities of goodness, how they are available in this world when we exercise them, and how to recognize them being exercised when we see it. That is infectious, just as infectious as greed, hatred, and delusion. And so it helps me to know where to look. And I'm not saying that we put on blinders and that we don't inform ourselves of things. was watching a news show on CNN this morning. And they were talking about the massacre that occurred 100 years ago in Tulsa. And where they killed, they set fire to the whole, it's called Black Wall Street, the whole neighborhood, the whole thing, and burned it down. And so they set fire to it. You had two choices: you stayed in and burned up, or you ran out and you got shot. So there was this massacre, and so I already knew about that. That one and 10,000 others, So I get that. So they're having this show that's coming on. I said, now, that's a show. That's a documentary. Some people need to watch. They need to watch it. To become more informed, to be able to arouse more compassion and accept responsibility for the history, not the things that were done in the past, but knowing one's history so that one can understand clearly what they're looking at today, what are the causes that are producing certain conditions. I said, but for me, I don't need to watch that documentary. I already know about it. So you need to know how much you need to watch it. I said, if I watch it, that will be, and I had prepared my Dharma talk, a couple of hours early. So that would be like me freeze framing something. That would be, for me, like freezing the water into ice. I said, and that would not be beneficial for me, and it probably wouldn't be beneficial for some others. So I know for me what is beneficial and what is not. But now there are other things about even our own history that I did not know. And when I don't know, I seek to educate myself so that I know. And in that process, it helps me to understand why some people think like they do, why some people do the things they do, and the role that ignorance plays in suffering in the world today. And it gives me some basis for trying to reach and communicate with others, but first from a place of knowing, second from a place of compassion, and third from a place of harmlessness. So compassion and harmlessness, not the same thing. In the same ballpark, but not the same thing. And we have to dice out, finer and finer, what things mean, and how to apply them in the world. That's really the only difference in our levels of practice. What's a monk? Somebody named Terrible. No, sort of contemporary, but he's Ajahn Chah. So I'm always mentioning this. I think I just said it last week. It shows you how short my memory is getting. I just said it last week, but I bring it to mind over and over because Ajahn Chah said that he didn't keep, the 200 and some monk rules. He said he just keeps one rule. And they came to interview him on that, because Theravada was like, we staunch on the rules, right? To keep people in line, we're staunch on the rules. Just forget the last thing the Buddha said, which is get rid of most of these, just keep the ones most important. That we're not with at all, because that doesn't keep people under our control. But we're staunch on the rules. And they said, they tell me that you don't keep all of the rules, that you only keep one rule. And he said, yeah, that's right. And they said, well, what rule was that? He said, I keep rule of my mind. Because that's where it's all pointing to. And this is the way that we should undertake practice. What is good and beneficial for me, that I could be my freest, most benevolent self. Because that self will be so diminished that it would be hard for suffering to even find. We'd be so grateful for whatever good fortune is in his life, not what's missing. He would be looking continually at what's there. Might not have this, but I have this. I might not have this, but I have this. This eye would be constantly scanning to find a resting place of gratitude. And such a mind becomes happy. A kind of contentment that the world didn't give you, so the world can't take it from you. It's like having a hidden pocket of treasure. It's like having there's a song I like, it's a Christian song, talks about the alabaster box. And it was a box of oil that Mary Magdalene, I think, poured out and washed the feet of Jesus. And they began to condemn her. And he said, oh, why did you waste that oil like that? That oil could have been sold for a lot of money. We could have used that. We could have used that to buy. I think, could you go out and actually answer that? Because I think that's the trucker for our deliveries. That's the person connected with that. So we could have sold that oil for a lot of money. We could have fed a lot of homeless people. Something like that. Yeah. Jesus said, leave her alone. She did the best thing she could have done with that oil. He said, because the poor are going to be with you always. And I'm not going to be here that long. He was saying, in all you're getting, get wisdom first, and that'll take care of everything. There is a way that we approach the Dharma that is more than merely academic. If we expect it to be life-changing. If we think it holds something for us that is greater than what we can find in the world, that is higher, vaster, than what we can access without these methods. Creating and opening a doorway for us. But we do have to walk through them. So in this way, freedom is less about us getting things and having things, because that's what we think freedom is, or at least in the West. It's about becoming something. But I'm encouraging you today to let whatever is big in your view today, and whether it comes with great praise and kudos and fame and acknowledgement, or whether it's something painful, sorrowful, and diminishing, I'm encouraging you to go right to that thing and sit with it until it begins to thaw, because it has been frozen in the mind, frozen in the body. It has become a thing. And the only way that you can be free of it is that it has to become no thing. There are many ways that we can think about emptiness, or no thingness or nothingness. But I'm suggesting we don't have to be clever. We don't have to be verbose. We don't have to be, we don't have to find these really lofty ways of speaking about things and looking at things. We need to just keep it simple. And in that simplicity becomes everything one needs to know to be successful in this life. To live it with purpose and joy. To be able to bend without breaking. To be able to fall 7 times and get up again. To be at the height of something and be able to just let it go. To be able to turn and go in another direction if that's where causes and conditions have fallen. To find our flexibility in maneuvering, learning to duck and dodge, bob and weave, tuck and roll. The boughs on a willow, they're so flexible. The wind blows, they just blow. And they rarely break, but an oak is sturdy and strong when it fights against the wind. Pine, I knew nothing about trees until I came here. Pine, tall. You know, they rise above everybody. But they have shallow roots. Strong wind comes, 150-foot pine, 150-foot pine just falls right over. So what kind of tree are you? This investigation of finding out who I am is what this journey is all about. And it takes us someplace A lot of times the Buddha starts with who we are not. I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not this, I'm not that. And then you look and see what's left. That's his way of doing it. And if that way doesn't flow well for you because it causes you to look someplace you shouldn't look, if you understand what he's pointing to, then you can look in the opposite direction and see what's there. Maybe there's a different way it can be said that you can put into your memory bank to remind you of something, so that when a moment comes and you encounter a difficulty, what is the way of escape for you? And then you just hold that. And you keep going back to it again and again. And the first time it might be rough, the 10th time might still be rough, the 20th time it's still rough, but I can do it. And the 50th time, one actually sees a benefit. If not for oneself, at least you see a benefit for the other person. Like I didn't go off on him. And that's a good thing for him. By the time you've done it 100 times, say, I didn't go off on him today. And that's a good thing for me. And one will feel confident in their practice, because they know that the goodness they did that day has its own fruit. And we'll start to notice that we won't have so many problems in our life when we stop doing the same things that we've always done. Because we'll be expecting a different result. Now, if you're expecting something, like, you don't have to like really look for it, not with that kind of anticipation, like, when is it coming? When is it coming? Not with that kind of anxiety that's tied into, I hope it does actually materialize. You can know that the action and the fruit, the minute one executes the action, the fruit is birthed at that time. Now, it may take a long time showing up, depending on whatever else is also maturing in your life. But one can certainly have the confidence that the harvest will come. May not know when. And later one has the confidence that the harvest is now, that the action, fruit occur, come into being simultaneously, although it may take a little while for it to be seen. The same with when we do unwholesome things. The fruit is born right there, even though it may be hidden for a while. So you see, this life, this walk, really doesn't have a lot to do with other people. It does not have a lot to do with other people. If we're still all out there, trying to fit the Dharma in to situations and relationships, we will never learn. I'd like to close out today asking if you could just allow to come to the surface of your mind right now. Something that has been troubling you. Someone that you are afraid of because your attachment to them has the capacity to bring you hurt. You see the power that holds over you. And the questions that it poses, like, how could they? Why did they? Was I wrong in how I looked at it? All the questions. How one can like just ruminate on that situation or that person, like mine always going back there. It was not on something, that's his landing part. It just goes right back there. Then something takes the attention off and you spend a little time with this and the next thing, and then it just goes right back there. It's just resting. I'm asking you if you can see that situation, see that person like an ice cube. Sitting right in front of you. Position right in front of you. And recognizing that person in that situation has to you or carries to you only the identification you give it. You ask 10 other people, including the person, they have a different view of themselves. If you ask the person that you're in a dispute with about something, a situation, they have a different view of the situation, how it has come about, and probably how to resolve it. So we recognize that what we have frozen, this thing, what we have made, crafted, concretized, is a figment of proliferation of our own mind, of our own making. Not saying that it doesn't have a basis in conventional reality. That's the problem. When we hold to a concept too tightly. And we can't be fluid enough to manipulate it in a way that our working with it can be beneficial. And it keeps us from accepting total responsibility for how we see and hold things. It creates the platform for the yeah, but, and also the I can't let go. Ergo, the continued suffering. But if you could see that situation with that person, like this ice cube, and I've been talking, and it's just sitting there, not in a refrigerated space, it's just sitting here. It's sitting right here. And left alone, without the refrigeration, the energy that it needs to remain concrete and frozen, a thing, it begins to melt. You don't have to do anything. Matter of fact, better to not do anything. Because any action one takes before this time is based upon the craving, the unsatisfactoriness, that I've got to do something. I'm not going to let them get away with this. They can't treat me like it. It's based on kind of contrariness. We've already talked about the fruit being in alignment with the cause, the base. So we just leave it there. It sits right there. I see it. It's close to me. I see it. I even feel it in the body. I'm coming to know what this actually feels like. I can recognize it when it's there. And I can allow it to be there as long as it's there. But also willing to allow it to melt away. Through non-clinging, through having no dog in the fight. Not pushing something away, recognizing that it is there. Allowing it to be there and losing our fear that it has power over us. And gradually, if you do that, you can face and surmount every difficulty in life. And that is the power, or I should say a power, of the Dharma. And we're just sitting here, watching, observing, and yet not meddling with obstacle that we put up right in front of us. Until our perception of who and what begins to dissolve and melt away. So I could sit here for the next hour in just that space of peace. Even though my merchandise truck didn't arrive yesterday. And that might be them singing this on the way today. But you see, those things don't have to perturb you. I mean, you don't have to have a crisis in your life every day. Unless you think of it as a crisis. It's just another day in some terror. Things that happen. Okay, so I wanna, before we end today, I wanna open the floor. If there's anything that you would like to share, I'd be delighted to hear about it. Particularly if just in those few minutes, one was able to bring up a frozen obstacle and to experience the melting. I just not even use that word cleaning anymore because I think we've overused it and we've concretized it. Find your own word. Yes, Joe.
Good afternoon. I have an opportunity to work with an insight I had some time ago. We have a guest coming this weekend. She's been here many times, elderly guest. She's on her way and she'll be staying with us for the Memorial Day weekend. And she's a challenging personality and she has a lot of afflictions and tends to verbalize those. And when she was here last time, one of the teachings we discussed, I think on a Tuesday or Thursday was, and the exercise was, how does my countenance affect or the behavior of others? And I had a chance to work with that the last time this person was here. And the results were remarkable. To the point where, and all I really was doing was making sure that when she was verbalizing so many of these things, you know, I feel dizzy now, I feel this, all these different things that are happening and just sort of, you know, running through her mind. I tried to just sort of take them like, well, instead of ignoring it as if, well, this is just the ramblings of someone who's been doing this an entire life and now is older now and just doesn't have control, and all these ways we judge people, and just, well, maybe she really does feel nauseous right now, and to really look at her and ask, is there anything I can do? And just by engaging in that way, the situation becomes neutral. And, oh, no, there's nothing you can do, she would say, and then, she would move on and be on to the next thing. And just the idea that, she's there and she's old and she has trouble moving around. And so I could see her looking around for something. What are you looking for? Can I help? She forgot where her iPad is or whatever it is. Look around the house and find her iPad. So the two principles that I find myself kind of working with and I'm excited to do. So I already had this insight. I wrote it down. It's right here. It's what I wrote down last time. And I'm reviewing it because she's coming and I want to use it again. No, I want to use it again. I'm excited to use it again. Like it's going to be literally a playground for the entire weekend while she's here. Now, that's not going to be true for my wife, right? Because she's lived with this her entire life. This is her mother. But for me, it's going to be great practice. And it turned out so well last time. I really just can't wait. And the two things to me are, the two bodhisattva vows, I guess they're called, right? Self and others are equal. In other words, there's nothing I can see or judge about her that I don't have myself. So that's a great equalizer for me, just to see things that way. And then the other is, I want her to be happy before I'm happy. I have everything I need. And so there's no reason why at any moment throughout this entire weekend that when I'm in her midst, that I can't focus on her happiness over mine. And it's just a great practice. It moves me quite a bit to be able to work with that. And, living in the house and working out of the house, I don't get a lot of interaction outside the house. So this is a great way to act and practice these things. Otherwise, all I'm really doing to save living beings is carrying spiders outside to let them go. Closest I get to it. So thank you. I'm just excited for the weekend coming up to work with some of the stuff we talk about.
Thank you, Joe. And it's a wonderful testimony. Like, I just need to tell you something though. That you're probably gonna have a different lesson this time. so keep that one in mind and keep working with that one, okay? And it's true about the joy that comes when you know you got a tool in your arsenal. It's like a contractor who buys a new tool. They just can't wait to use it. It really is part of what brings us our joy, and even when we get into it and then we go into the back room, this is gonna be harder than I thought, but working with that. And the thing is that we don't work on one thing. After a while, we get the capacity to work on more than one thing. So if it comes at you in a different way, then one knows it's not only in this way am I going to help to maintain harmony and not be irritated and so forth. There may be something else this time that you see that you can employ. Some other tapping even in another spot. And I could feel your commitment, to commit to the practice or a practice is really how we commit to ourselves and how we commit to others, and I can sense that deep commitment, that it was a real tangible thing, for you, and not just like a pithy saying, something others are equal, not just the right answer to question number 4, you know, to pass the test or whatever, was it's not Dharma light, you know, when one takes it into oneself. So I'd be interested. And yeah, I remember last time, and I remember right in the middle, I think of last time, you started shifting and you saw the benefit. When we see it and know it for ourselves that it works, you know, then it becomes real to us. So thank you so much. Yes, would anyone else like to share?
May I say something?
Yes.
When you first mentioned the concept of the thing you're working with being ice, I thought I saw a little ice cube. When I entered into meditation and then tried to envision it, wasn't a little ice cube, it was a giant block of ice in front of me. Nonetheless, just I was able to visualize its melting, and as it melted, it came around me and actually covered my feet, which it's very hot out today. So it felt really good to have cold water around my feet. And you know I love words, you know, so much. And the two words that kept coming to my mind when you were talking about it, which really helped me, was transmutation, the ability that through your own mind, you're able to transform something since it's existing in your mind in the first place, and transfiguration. I really appreciated that concept, and I thank you so much for your wisdom. I did have one question. When you were talking about having had so much sadness in your life, another great word came to mind, which is a German word, which we don't really use anymore in our own language, but it's called Weltschmerz. It's made up of world, Welt, and Schmerz, pain. This idea that the world can be in so much pain that we actually feel the pain in ourselves. And this last year, I've really felt a lot of it because there's been a lot of it. And you said that you were able to transform that block of ice or that pain that was influencing your own sadness into some form of joy, even though it didn't necessarily release the suffering of the world. And I didn't know if you might have just a moment to expound on it, only if you're drawn to.
So it's the basis for that transformation is awareness and gratitude. And the platform for awareness and gratitude is I have a very strong belief in causality, cause and condition. There's no way for something to be existing except the cause for that, allows the expression of that. And that's what puts us in a place that we can, when I say accept, not like say it's okay, but we can understanding, we can understand how things are like they are. So I'm talking about, oh yeah, the United States is going to hell in a handbasket. I haven't known though, haven't heard of any civilization that didn't go to hell in a handbasket. I haven't known of, I haven't heard of anyone that didn't build its prosperity for a few on the backs of many. I haven't known of, haven't heard of any society that didn't have intermingled hatred among its own citizenry. I didn't know of, I haven't heard, so when I started doing this, when I was watching a show about the slave trade in Africa, and and I was like, there's no way that they could have done that except the Africans were selling their brothers and sisters. So, own that. you know, and stop saying it was all what somebody did. Yes, somebody did do something, but we have to own what's in our own pocket. And what I'm trying to say is it brings about a certain balanced way of looking at the world, understanding the world, the limitations of the world due to greed, hatred, and delusion. And that allows you to say, how could it be any other way? It allows you to have enough energy to do what little bit you can, you know, to bring some relief here or there, and not think that it's not beneficial. You know, like, no, I can't feed all the kids in India, but the few I fed, ask them, did it matter? You know, and so we stop despising small things, and we stop over emphasizing large things. And when we see things are broken, we have the confidence that, you know, the same minds that created these broken conditions, there are minds that can create healing conditions, you know. And if I can't do it, get out of the way and let somebody else do it. And all of these things. So when I started looking, and there's all of these options, all of this goodness, all of this potential that's there. Unless I just want to mope around in my anger, frustration, and sorrow, then there's so much more to be joyful and confident about. You know, and the sadness went away. So it's about shifting our vision of what we choose to focus on, that pertains to ourselves and that pertains to others. And the attitude with which we bring the activity of change. So if anyone else quickly can speak up, otherwise we'll close because it's 1:17. Okay, Brian, I've been thinking about you. So I'm gonna send you an email today or tomorrow. If you don't get it, would you send me an email? Don't worry, it's not anything I'm gonna ask you to do. But you've been on my mind, so I follow the signal. Okay, so I'll send you an email. Thank you all so much for coming. I got a text yesterday that said Josh is coming, and I'm like, Josh who? Because I know like now 3 Joshes. You know, then I thought, oh, you mean meditating Josh? I was like, okay. So that's a good thing though, okay? So we're so happy that you're here with us. I can't remember your new name yet. I have to study these new names that I gave everybody. They're using them already, right, on the schedule. So I don't know who's doing what because I don't know their new names yet. But what is it? Nidana is started her silent. She's doing like a personal silent retreat, and she's just going into silence over 4 weeks. So we started step 1 of the descent into silence. And last night, I got the longest email from her. I don't really think I ever got an email from you. It was like, how do you feel it? It was something that said, all good things. I said, this is talking. So that's great. Keep up your good work and your good practice. May you be well, happy and peaceful. May no harm come to you, no danger. May you always be able to meet the inevitable difficulties of life. Be kind to yourself, be kind to someone else today.
Thank you. Thank you, Venerable Nawati.
Yeah.
I sent you a
Oh,
text,
I got your message.
Venerable Nawati.
Send me a text or email. I missed your phone
Yeah,
call
text.
yesterday. Call me again today. We can touch bases later today by phone.
Yes.
Okay. All right, great.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.